What does it actually cost to own the world's largest purpose-built private jet? Not the sticker price. Every single dollar. Every year. We calculated everything. Let's break it down. A brand new Bombardier Global 7500 lists for roughly $75 to $81 million. But most aircraft leave the factory closer to $81 million once owners add custom interiors, upgraded connectivity systems, and other options. But here's the reality nobody talks about. The purchase price is almost the easy part, because once you own the jet, the real spending begins. Between fixed and variable expenses, you should expect to spend roughly $3 to $4.5 million every single year just to keep this aircraft flying. Let's start with the fixed costs. Fixed costs. Fixed costs are the expenses you pay whether the jet flies or not. The engines are off. The aircraft is parked. But the bills keep arriving. And for the Global 7500, those bills are substantial. Crew salaries. This aircraft requires 2 full-time professional pilots. And these are not entry-level aviators. A captain qualified on the Global 7500 typically earns $200,000 to $250,000 per year in base salary. The first officer usually earns between $125,000 and $150,000 annually. But there's another cost many people forget. Because this aircraft regularly flies intercontinental routes, you'll almost always need a flight attendant as well. That adds another $60,000 to $70,000 per year. Altogether, your crew payroll lands somewhere between $410,000 and $470,000 annually, before bonuses, benefits, and travel allowances. Crew training. Every year, your pilots must complete recurrent training in a Level D full motion simulator. This training keeps their type ratings current and ensures they remain legally certified to fly the aircraft. For a Global 7500 crew, annual training costs typically run $50,000 to $100,000 per year. And this is not optional. Miss a training cycle and your pilots are legally grounded. Insurance. Insuring an $81 million aircraft is not cheap. Comprehensive hull and liability coverage for the Global 7500 generally costs between $150,000 and $300,000 annually. The exact premium depends on pilot experience, annual flight hours, claims history. Operators with experienced crews and clean records usually pay toward the lower end. Hangar space. At 111 feet long and over 115,000 pounds at max ramp weight, the Global 7500 isn't something you leave parked outside. You need a dedicated hangar. And at major airports like John F. Kennedy International Airport or Heathrow Airport, hangar space is expensive. Monthly fees typically range from $3,000 to $8,000. That translates to roughly $36,000 to $100,000 per year, depending on location. Maintenance programs. Most owners enroll in manufacturer maintenance programs. These programs cover scheduled inspections, major component overhauls, and engine servicing. For the Global 7500, operators commonly use programs from Bombardier and GE Aerospace. Together, these programs typically cost $350,000 to $500,000 annually. Skipping them is possible but risky. A single unscheduled engine event could easily cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Aircraft management. Most owners hire a professional aircraft management company. These firms handle everything from pilot scheduling, maintenance coordination, regulatory compliance, flight planning. Management services usually cost between $80,000 and $150,000 per year. Total fixed costs. Add everything together: crew salaries, training, insurance, hangar, maintenance programs, management, and you're looking at roughly $1.10 to $1.60 million per year in fixed costs. And remember, that's before the jet even leaves the ground. Variable costs. Now let's talk about the costs that grow every time the aircraft flies. Fuel. The Global 7500 is powered by 2 GE Passport engines. At cruise, the aircraft burns roughly 500 to 530 gallons of Jet A fuel per hour. With Jet A prices averaging $6 to $7 per gallon, that means $3,000 to $3,700 per hour in fuel. If the aircraft flies 400 hours per year, fuel alone costs roughly $1.20 to $1.50 million annually. Maintenance reserves. Even with manufacturer programs, additional maintenance reserves are necessary. Operators usually budget about $1,500 to $1,700 per flight hour for unscheduled repairs and component replacements. To 400 flight hours, that equals roughly $600,000 to $680,000 per year. Landing and handling fees. Every airport charges landing fees based on aircraft weight, and at over 115,000 pounds, the Global 7500 sits near the top of the scale. At major airports like Dubai International Airport or Zurich Airport, fees can range from $500 to several $1,000s per landing. Add in FBO handling services, and operators typically spend about $150,000 to $250,000 per year. Catering and cabin supplies. Passengers flying on an aircraft like this expect premium service. Custom catering, fine wines, and cabin supplies can cost between $1,000 and $5,000 per flight. For roughly 150 flights per year, that totals around $150,000 to $300,000 annually. Total annual operating cost. When you combine fixed and variable expenses, the total operating cost lands between $3 million and $4 million every year. And that number does not include depreciation. On an $81 million aircraft, first-year depreciation alone can add another $3 to $4 million. Final cost. So the real cost of owning a Bombardier Global 7500 looks like this. $81 million purchase price. $3 to $4 million per year to operate. And that's the reality of owning one of the most advanced private jets ever built. So the question is simple. Is it worth it?